Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Here we are again, Madam Speaker, another anti-energy policy from this Liberal government that is driving energy investment out of Canada, costing Canadian workers their jobs, and significantly increasing poverty in certain regions, especially the North. Madam Speaker, I am speaking to Bill C-88 because I am concerned that the changes it would make will politicize oil and gas extraction by expanding the powers of this Liberal government to block economic development. It takes away local control and environmental stewardship from the Aboriginal people of the region and inhibits local territorial governments from doing what is best for the people of the area. And Madam Speaker, I'm speaking about the Mackenzie River Delta, and I see my friend across is smiling because he's very proud of the region he has grown up in. Madam Speaker, Bill C-88 is just not another Liberal anti-energy bill like Bill C-48, C-69, and C-86. These bills could block all future pipelines, giving this government the authority to unilaterally shut down natural resource development. They are now systematically going after the Northwest Territories like they have done with our western provinces. Madam Speaker, only a few people get to visit the Mackenzie Delta or travel through the pristine waters of the Mackenzie River. Those who have found it breathtaking due to its vast biological and ecological formation. When Sir Alexander Mackenzie traveled the Mackenzie River in 1789, he was astonished at its sparse population and the pristine beauty of the region. As you may know, Mr. Speaker, the river was named after him. That's just for a few of my Liberal colleagues across there, except for the member from the Northwest Territories. I count myself fortunate, no, Madam Speaker, I myself blessed and lucky to have been able to travel from the start of the Peace and Athabasca rivers, which are the headwaters of the Mackenzie River, and I have followed it as it flows, meeting the Beaufort Sea in the north. This pristine area, rich in ecological wealth, covers an area just under 2 million square kilometers, and its drainage basins encompasses, just imagine, Madam Speaker, encompasses 1/5 of Canada. The waters of 1/5 of Canada drain into it. This is the second largest river in North America, next to the Mississippi. You know, Madam Speaker, oil and gas has been part of this region since 1921. There are also mines in the area of uranium, gold, diamond, lead, and zinc. During World War II, a pipeline was built from Norman Wells over to Whitehorse in the Yukon. It carried crucial petroleum products that were needed during World War II and helped Canada and United States to build the Alaska Highway that significantly helped Canada during the war. It's called the Canole Pipeline, and it still exists today, Madam Speaker. At a very young age, I personally met and was inspired by one of Canada's great leaders. That was Mr. John Diefenbaker. His statue sits at the rear of this building. He was a leader of great wisdom and vision, which led our country to where it is today. I remember he once said, "A northern vision, a new Canada, a Canada of the North." This is what he thought of and envisioned. He spoke of giving people of northern Canada the rights to develop their resources, protect their environment, maintain and develop strong economies in the region. Diefenbaker saw the need for the people of the North to do this, not the government of Canada. One of Canada's leading novelists of the same era, Hugh MacLennan, a liberal novelist, stated at the time, and he was visionary. He said, "Did you know that by 2061, that Mackenzie Delta would have 3 million people living along the banks and shores of the river. The people's pockets would be full of money from the wealth of the region. And he said there would be at least 2 universities built in the Mackenzie Delta area. Well, Madam Speaker, that Liberal's prediction was wrong, and the actions of my Liberal friends across the way from me is also wrong. Madam Speaker, there are roughly 10,000 people living along the Mackenzie River Delta in places like Wrigley, Toledo, Norman Wells, Fort Good Hope, Fort McPherson, Inuvik, Aklavik, Tuktoyaktuk. I have been to those communities, and I know the people, Madam Speaker. There are 68 Aboriginal groups that also live in this region, and I've had the pleasure and honor and have gathered with them, socialized with them, and discussed their issues. We used to gather at the Petatot River. I've been there a number of times to meet. These are real stewards of the land, not people like CPAWS, not people like the Suzuki Foundation, or others who have the ears of the environment ministers. These are the real Canadian environmentalists. These are the real stewards of the land. Recently, Merv Grubin, the mayor of Tuktoyaktuk, testified at the Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs, Madam Speaker. He said the Liberal government should be helping northern communities. Instead, it shut down the offshore gasification and put a moratorium right across the whole Arctic without even consulting communities. He also said that the people in his town like to work for a living and are not used to getting social assistance. Now, all they are getting are a bit of tourists coming up the new highway, but that's small change compared to when you work in the oil and gas sector. Mr. Speaker, they are the people of the Mackenzie River Delta. Our Conservative government gave them the power to manage their resources in a true, healthy, respective manner that only the people of the region can do. That was through Bill C-15, the Northwest Territories Devolution Act of 2014, Madam Speaker. Our former Conservative government viewed the North as a key driver of the economic activity for decades to come. But this Liberal government is arbitrarily creating huge swaths of protected land with little or no consultation with the Aboriginal communities, while other Arctic nations are exploring possibilities within their respective areas. Bill C-88 reveals a full rejection of calls from elected territorial leaders for the increased control of their natural resources. And it consists of 2 parts. Part A, amend the Mackenzie Valley Resource Management Act of 1998, and 2, Part B, amend the Canada Petroleum Resources Act to allow the Governor and Council to issue orders. That scares me, Madam Speaker. Provisions that were introduced by our former Conservative government within Bill C-15, the Northwest Territories Devolution Act, Bill C-88, would reverse these changes. Yet, Madam Speaker, the Liberal members voted in favor of C-15 when it was debated in this Parliament, including the Prime Minister. They voted in favor of Bill C-15. Now, the Liberals want to reverse the former government's proposal to consolidate the 4 land and water boards in the Mackenzie Valley into one, and I believe so that they can take control. The creation of a single board was a key recommendation which would address complexity and capacity issues by making more efficient use of expenditures and administrative resources and allow for administration practices to be understandable and consistent. When Bill C-15 was debated in the House of Commons in 2013 and 2014, the restructured board was included in the final version of the modern land claims agreement. The Liberals further politicized the regulatory and environmental processes for resources extraction in Canada's north by giving Cabinet sweeping powers to stop projects on the basis of national interest. This reveals a rejection on calls from the Northerners for continued control of their natural. Just about to finish, Madam Speaker. This Liberal government should leave the people of Northern Canada with their resources and let them be their own environmentalists and stewards of the land. They know it the best.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for, just want to make sure I get it right, Northwest Territories.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I wanted to thank the member for his comments, and I appreciate the last part of his comments where he said that we should leave the North, let Northerners decide about the North. And I think that's certainly in order. I think that's what he should do also. He should support this bill and let the will of the Northerners and the people of the North decide. The people of the North want to see changes to the Mackenzie Valley Resource Management Act. We want to see scientific review. I have opportunity to speak to the member many times over the last while, and I think we share a lot of goals and aspirations. However, there's a difference between how the Conservatives see the North and the Liberals see the North. The Liberals see the North as a treasure. I think the Conservatives see it as a treasure chest and wanted to remove any kind of impediments that get in the way. So I'd ask the member why would he not support this bill in that light. Thank you.
The honourable member for Yellowhead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my honourable friend across. We have had many discussions, and I don't think we are too far off on our feelings of the North. I have a fondness for the people of the North, and I don't believe that we should be pondering any part of Northern Canada for its wealth. It should be left for the people of the North to look after themselves and be the stewards of the land. I am objecting about this bill because it's following and the overtones are so similar to C-88, 86 and others. It is taking the control away from the people, and that is where my concerns come in. It's taking the control away from the people and local government officials like the honourable member's brother, who is a very well-known, respected person in the Northwest Territories, and I feel that they are a bit concerned about this bill as much as I am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Questions and comments? L'honorable député de Sherbrooke.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Et j'aimerais faire suite à un commentaire qu'a fait mon collègue. Juste au début de son discours, qui était que lui et probablement sa formation, on ne voulait pas politiser les débats sur les ressources naturelles et évidemment le déplacement de ceux-ci à travers le pays pour certainement dans certains projets les exporter. Mais pourtant, c'est exactement ce que mon collègue fait dans plusieurs dossiers. Par exemple, quand on parle de pipeline, il politise, si on peut utiliser ce verbe-là, les débats sur le déplacement, le transport des ressources naturelles. Donc, pourquoi mon collègue, en début de discours, nous demande qu'on arrête de politiser ces débats-là, alors que c'est exactement ce que le Parti conservateur fait à toutes les occasions?
The honourable member for Yellowhead.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd like to thank the honourable member. I believe he's on a different page than I am. When I talked about politicizing, this is what they were trying to do and changing the regulations to make it more advantageous for the federal government to have a final say over the people of the land who should have the final say, and the government of the land who should have the final say. The provinces should have the final say. The people of the provinces should have a final say, a stronger say than the federal government should. That's what I'm referring to as politicizing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Time for another brief question. L'honorable député de Louis Saint-Laurent.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And through you and through my honourable colleague from Yellowhead, I want to pay all my respect for the people of Alberta who suffer so much of the oil crisis, and especially those hard worker people who work hard for their family. And those people have been insulted by the Prime Minister himself this weekend. So I want to hear the member, what is his talk about the comments made by the Prime Minister about the hard-working Canadian in the hard sector?
The honourable member for Yellowhead, a brief answer, please.
I'd like to thank the honourable member for that question. Madam Chair, workers in Alberta are frustrated. This government is totally ignoring what is happening in Alberta. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have been gone over the last few years. But it's not only Albertans. We're upset because many of those people that were working in Alberta We're from Quebec. We're from Ontario. We're Nova Scotia, from Newfoundland. People that have lost their jobs and had to go back to their provinces, maybe where the economy was not doing as good. We are upset because we have a government that is not listening to the members of parliament from Alberta, not listening to the Premier of Alberta, who was here last Wednesday, and not listening to the people and trying to help our province get through this situation so all Canadians across this country from coast to coast to coast, which includes the north, to all benefit. Thank you, Madam Chair.